Hello, beloved friends. I'm Kyra, and I'm here to continue with the series on communication from the infinite, to understand and perceive all the ways that the infinite is communicating with us in every moment. And the more we attune and align with that inner awareness, this is an inner awareness. It's when we go deep within ourselves and we become aware of that infinite communion with the divine. And we may have accessed it through meditation and prayer, or we may have accessed it in a lot of ways in our journey. But when we become familiar with the fact that we are being communicated with all the time, we start to become conscious of the messages that the universe is bringing to us. See, every moment we're receiving something new. We're receiving information. We're data transmitters in a way, and yet discerning what is the data that has value and meaning to me is a part of our journey. And in this video, I want to talk about examples of how the communication from the infinite might happen as signs in your everyday life. We all know about the signs that come through numbers that show up, repetitive numbers, and recognize that there is some infinite awareness or inner divine consciousness that's wanting to remind us we're connected, that we're never alone, and that there is unseen, invisible support available for us. And sometimes it's just a wake-up call, a wake-up call, a wake-up call. Notice what you're noticing in this moment. Pay attention here, because there's something that's significant and has a detail for you that will bring great value to your life if you pay attention. And then it's discerning in the moment of something happening that we experience the experience. And as humans, we're meaning-making machines. So my thing about that is that, yes, when we move into the place of no mind, where we move into that infinite enlightened state of full awakening, we really are not dealing with constant thought barrage. We're experiencing life in each moment. And yet, most of us are in a journey along the path to awakening and enlightenment. And we're looking at what's happening. And even when we are awakened, we may go in and out of those moments of conscious awareness of thoughts being in the background, or them suddenly we find that we've traveled down the road of thought again and are caught in that thought-sphere. The noosphere, which is the thought consciousness that is around us. And yet, what we're looking is to understand the signs that are helping us pay attention to which information that's coming towards us has value for us. To discern and understand, oh, this information is a communication that is directly aligning with my knowing the truth of my being. Because the only reason that we are the consciousness that is moving, but we forget ourselves. We get caught in the thoughts, in the conditioning we've received, in the ways that we perceive ourselves as separate from the infinite, as something less than a soul that is communing and radiating the nature of the infinite from us. We're looking to perceive ourselves by the signals and signs that are outside of us. So as long as we're doing that, until we're at the place we're totally just a pure emanation of spirit, which is where we're headed, but until then, we want to notice the things that are helping us remember who we are, because that's the reason for the communication, to remind us of the truth of our being, to help us to experience ourselves as the infinite operating in a finite reality, and yet not defining ourselves by the finite, by the material, by the body, by the thoughts we think, the identities we've taken on, all the ways we define ourselves as woman or man, as a white American or a black American or even an American, right? Is that we are infinite source And so the communication that is there, that is helping us remember we're more than any labels or definitions, is always helping us know that we're also a part of this one cycle and communication of life that is ever evolving and moving and changing and growing and taking us to the next and the next level of conscious communion and awareness, so that we can release the suffering of our lives, the places where we believe we're separate, where we have stories that keep us convinced that somehow we have a need to suffer. So we don't feel content in the here and now. We don't feel fulfilled by life. We are looking for something out there to make that happen. So while we're in that mode, and until we get to the place where we are totally just aligned as spirit, emanating the life energy of that infinite consciousness in each moment, just beaming and radiating it out into the world, we are open to the realization that there are communications. So an example of that would be, some of us, we know about communications from the other side when we lose a loved one. And we always thought of them in relationship to a cardinal, and suddenly cardinals show up for us everywhere. That might be an example, and we begin to remember and know that our loved one, or we smell. I recently, the other day, had an experience of smelling this particular pipe smoke. Well, my grandfather smoked a pipe, and so did my dad for a while. And this was a distinct smell of my grandfather. And I realized, he must be communicating with me right now, because he must be here, sharing his presence and his light and encouraging my life. And it was just a touching moment of realization, because I could smell that smoke. And I knew there was no reason to smell it. I was in my own home. There was nothing around where smoke was coming in. It was just a communication, okay? But there are also times when the sign that is coming is I'm praying. I have a beautiful story. All right, I'm going to go into this one. It's really fun. Is that of an example of the communication from the divine. I had a friend, another minister, Reverend Diane Scribner Clevenger, who was walking the Camino over in France and Spain, and I had agreed to be a prayer partner with her. Now, in those days, we weren't so connected. The first time she walked that as a pilgrimage, we weren't so connected by cell phones and all of that. So I really didn't know what was going on with her. But I woke straight up out of bed one morning, and as one of her prayer partners, was keeping her in prayer every day, but I woke up and went, something happened to Diane. Something happened to Diane. Well, I have no way of communicating with her, of finding out anything at this moment. And I'm like a little bit of all right, Spirit, I need you to know I need you to let me know she's okay. I need to know. Right now, I'm going to go in and know with every particle of my being that the divine is with her. She is a divine in expression. Her body temple is alive and well, and she is on that path, and all is operating according to plan. And I'm like, and I need a sign right now. I want you to give me a sign that she's okay. Well, throughout time, we had gone to ministerial school together and had daily walks and things, and we did so much prayer work together. And we asked along the way to have a sign that was our sign from the universe, that our prayers were being answered. And the sign that happened for us at the time was a great blue heron flew directly over us. And we took that to be our sign and agreed with the universe. We made the agreement then that, all right, the blue heron, every time we see a blue heron, we're going to know our prayers are being answered. And it was interesting because along the way, we had many, many different circumstances where we were praying together and asking for confirmation for our prayers. And we had blue herons show up, of course, in Florida. Of course, we were in Kansas City when it first happened. I was in Phoenix, Arizona, and we'd had it there. We had blue herons show up for us in France when we were praying together. All over the world, we would encounter blue herons at the moment that we were asking for our prayers to be confirmed. And so it became something that we recognized as a sign. And we'd made an agreement now with the universe that that would be our sign. And it was also a connection between the two of us. I have a beautiful little blue heron that she'd given me one time that, stays on my altar because it's a symbol of how the universe communicates to us and lets us know that we are indeed connected, and all that we are creating with our thoughts, our prayers, our conscious union and communion is being transmitted and is in alignment. When it's in alignment, we are going to get responses and signs and signals. So back to the morning in question. I woke up and I am adamant with Spirit, you must give me a sign right now that she is okay, because I can't get that answer, and I am not going to go on having this concern and this worry in my being that something, because I know something has happened. I can feel it in every particle of my being. I have no idea what, but something has happened. So about that time, I had a bay window, and I had a beautiful little stream and koi pond in the back of my house. Excuse me, and I look out, and sure enough, here's a blue heron. And I'd never had a blue heron in my yard before. And I start crying and thanking Spirit and saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that you are communicating with me and that she's okay. That whatever's happened that I felt, I'm going to continue to hold her in prayer and lift her up and know that you've got her and know the truth of the divine that she is, the expression of that, and thank you for the sign. Well, about that time, once I got resolved, I realized I have a blue heron in my koi pond. So I go running out. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and now out. Don't take my koi. Go, go, go. And of course, I don't know how long it's been there or what's happened. So the blue heron goes on, and I go digging in with the pond. Now, this is a small, very small man-made pond, lined and all of that. And I am down under every crevice of it. There are no koi, none. And I was just like, oh my gosh, my koi, my koi. And then I had this feeling, and Spirit was like, don't worry, don't worry. And I had this experience of knowing that Spirit would not have destroyed my koi to bring me that sign. I just had this knowing wash over me. And now, at the same time, the physical evidence is there's no koi there. So I'm praying about it and asking for guidance, and I received the message that Jesus was in the tomb 3 days. Jesus was in the tomb 3 days. And I was in a place where I'd been teaching people about the shifting of dimensions that we were in, and that in the shifting things were happening, like things flashing in and out of one dimension or another. What the bleep do we know had just come out, and they were talking about how electrons flashing in and out of different realms of existence, so to speak. We think it's a thing, but it's flashing in and out. It's not really solid, as is everything else, not really solid. It's moving particles and energy. Everything is energy. So I thought, well, these fish are energy, and they've just moved into another dimension. And as soon as I had that, again, I had this peace wash over me. So I let it be. I watched. 3 days later, all my koi showed up. And even to this day, it's such a powerful sign for me. I've had so many. I can account for a few here, but this one was so profound, because not only was it telling me that, yes, in fact, I was deeply connected to her, which later I found out what had happened on that particular day. She had fallen. She had fallen and rolled a bit down the mountain and kind of hurt her foot and ankle, and actually had to rest for a couple days to continue before she could continue her walk on the Camino. It was early on in her trek, and she was all right, just enough of a little slight injury that she had to take care of it before she could continue to walk the many miles involved in the Camino. So continually, Spirit was helping me know I was deeply connected. First to another that I had committed to hold in prayer. And then I said, I don't know how I'm going to know, but I'm going to know. And I had said this in advance to the universe. I want you to let me know if there's something I need to amp up my prayers, or if I need to know, because we're so connected, we knew we would. And sure enough, I did. I woke up with that awareness. And then to have the sign that we'd already agreed to was a sign in all the other times we'd been praying together was a very powerful demonstration of how the universe will communicate. And there's a piece of that I want to acknowledge that I'm saying here, and I'm hoping you're hearing, that I made an agreement with the universe. I said, I would like this to be our sign. Once we saw it, we agreed that would be our sign, and we would what? And we had an agreement with the universe. So therefore, that sign showed up for us over and over and over again. And in this key moment, of course, it's what showed up. The other thing I want you to recognize when we're talking about signs, because we can just say, oh, it's all coincidence. Oh, that doesn't have that kind of meaning. You're making all that up. You're giving it meaning, okay? It's just a heron showed up in a koi pond. Of course, it's koi, and it's a heron, you know. But there'd never been a heron spot my small koi pond in the midst of all the other places they could go in the valley. I was in Arizona, in Chandler, Arizona, and there are a lot of larger bodies of water. This was very, very small. For a heron to even spot it was unusual. But it doesn't really matter. All those are the facts, and I don't want to confuse us with the facts because we do that enough for ourselves. Because the truth is that I was receiving the messages that I had an agreement to receive, and that I had agreed I wanted to be communicated with on the infinite, on the divine level of awareness that is in union as me, always providing guidance and wisdom, and so that I can choose to follow or not. I can naysay that information, or I can follow and listen and find that my life is constantly receiving the kind of support and information and awareness that has it moving forward with ease and grace and in a connection that is what we all seek. We all seek to know we're one with that infinite source, with God. And we seek to know that we're not alone here. And that sense of knowing carries a different kind of confidence in our being, and a way of walking through the world that becomes one of peace and harmony and far less stress. And it also becomes an inspiration for others. So I really want to share, there are many, many, many others, because I have an agreement that the universe will communicate with me continually, and that I will agree to notice from the very subtle to the most profound signs along the way. And certainly there was that in my mind that, well, I guess I need to go buy goldfish when my koi disappeared, or go buy more koi. But I chose not to, because of the message I got that Jesus was in the tomb 3 days. Now that could be a random thought, but instead I stopped and went, how does that correlate to anything going on in my life right now? And suddenly went, oh, the koi. Maybe, just maybe, they're in that interdimensional shift, because they have an ability that I don't even know. We assume that things are operating in the way that we are. And maybe we're only using a small capacity. We know that's true because Christ was teaching us how to open to the higher capacities that even overcome the appearance of death. And so all the ways that the signs were coming and informing me. Now I'm going to add one more story. I know this is kind of a long video, but I'm going to add one more because it's also about this interdimensional play that I'm speaking of. I had another incident in the same house. I had been talking to folks about the things that were happening, of us things flashing in and out of different dimensions to help bring us awareness that we were in a shift and to notice. And one day I go to get the guacamole out of the refrigerator. I call it the guacamole effect. And it wasn't there. I knew exactly where it was. And I had a roommate, and I went to my roommate and I said, Robin, do you know what happened to the guacamole? It's not where, she goes, well, it's right there on the right side. And I said, no, it's not. And she goes, well, I haven't touched it. And I said, well, neither have I. So we both go back. We open the refrigerator. We look, no, it's not there. We take everything out of that refrigerator. we thought, well, let's look further because maybe it got hidden or something. So we take everything out. No guacamole. Okay, put it all back. All right, we've confirmed there's no guacamole. It's a mystery. It disappeared. So we're just kind of going, okay, well, that's interesting. I know I saw it last night. And I was looking forward to eating it, right? And so anyway, we go on about things. And a little later that day, I open the refrigerator and there's the guacamole, right where we originally thought it was. I go, Robin, you have to come see this. So she comes and we're like, oh my gosh, you know, that's wild. You know, we know it was not there. We put our hands on everything that was in that refrigerator. So it was kind of interesting. So then we go about that day getting ready to go somewhere, and she had in her hand her contact solution, and she set it on the sink in her bathroom. And then she came out to talk with me about something and goes back in and it's missing. And she's like, listen, I just had this. So we both go through. We again pick up everything in that bathroom, under the sink, in the medicine cabinet, on the sink. No solution. We went into her room. We looked there. We looked in case she dropped it as she came out to talk with me in the hallway. No solution for her contacts. Well, sure enough, we get ready to do something else and we go out in the kitchen for a bit and we come back and lo and behold, here's her solution sitting. And we're laughing now because we're recognizing the universe is helping us know that we are in a transition and we're operating between dimensions, and that there are things that are flashing in and out, or we're flashing in and out. We're not really sure which, but what we recognize is that it's a time to be fully aware that there is something happening in the transformation of our planetary energy system. There's things that are happening that are informing us. And there's a reason that we are there together to have this where it's not just one of us having this going, I'm absent-minded, I put it somewhere. But instead to confirm with each other, to be a validation of that there really was something happening. And again, I took that out to others and started talking about the guacamole effect and how it's happening. You know, they say, well, it happens with my keys. And they just thought they were being forgetful, but then they're starting to realize, no, it happened with this and it happened with this. And I have people all around me who are recognizing they've been having the same kind of effect. And we recognize at that moment that this is a communion to know that we are in a shift of consciousness and to consciously choose to live from a higher vibration, because there will be things otherwise that we won't have access to. And to start to know that our vibrational frequency is shifting where we're living. But we recognized it, whatever meaning we gave it, we recognized it as a sign of something greater communicating with us, to start paying close attention. And so what I want to invite for each of us is that the universe is constantly bringing signs. I shared the other day with someone about a retreat that my husband and I were coming from, and he'd been praying for a specific sign. We both were praying for signs for different reasons. And so we're coming down the mountain, and he'd been asking, I didn't really know what he'd asked for exactly, but we're behind a truck, and it's got this big flashing sign, follow me, follow me, follow me. And no matter what we do, we can't get around it. We have to follow it down this mountain road. And Joel says to me at the time, he says, well, he goes, I was just praying for a sign about my path. And he goes, I just got my answer. I said, oh, did you ever? And as soon as he said that to me, the truck turned on its blinker and turned off of the road, because he received the message of that sign. Now, at that same retreat, I had an experience of wanting to know that I was really on the right path. And I'd gone out for a hike, and I'd been praying about that and doing my meditation and walking meditation and different things. And I'm praying that I really would like a sign. And literally, you can't make this stuff up, right? Right in front of me is a sign that says, this is the path. It's all it said. This is the path. I thought, wow, I guess they were trying to keep people from being confused about which way to go. And I was laughing. I got, well, I guess it was helping me to not be confused about which way to go. That I am right where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. This is the path. So what I want for each one of you is to recognize there are a couple things here. If you choose to acknowledge that the universe is communicating with you always, it will give you signs. Make an agreement with your own divine self, with your higher self, with the universe, whatever name or understanding you have of that, that it will communicate with you through signs, and that you will be willing to be aware and listen and open. When you don't know the meaning of a sign, I say, give me something very clear for me. Make it undeniable, right? That's the word, undeniable to me. And so it often comes in ways that I just have to laugh because it's so clear, right? It's like, like I said, you can't make this up, that it's this clear. So I really hope this has been helpful to some of you, and as you continue to develop your skills in communicating with the infinite. And when I say the infinite, I know that that's the God as you and me. We can call it principle, we can call it God, we can call it source, we can call it consciousness, because I don't care what name you give to it, because that we are the ever-flowing consciousness of the universe in individualized expression. And we're learning how to get back to the remembrance of the truth of our being. So we live without the noise of the world, and the suffering that we've believed is what our life is about. And our life is here to be in the flow of creativity. And so the more we understand the signs and recognize our connection, the more creative we become, the more we align and use the powers that are available to us as creative source to bring forth a world that truly is transformed, a world that is creative play every day for you, for me, for everyone. And so that's my hope and prayer in sharing these messages. And I wish you a blessed, lovely day. May all the signs of the universe reach out to you, and you be living in awe and wonder every moment as a result. Blessings, friends.